think it's working now. Finally got my computer set up. Been a while. Haven't turned it on in 4 months. So, crazy stuff. To let your computer sit for so long. Anyways, hello. I'm back. As you know, I'm Bones of Amber. I stream. Sometimes I'm not the best at keeping a schedule, let's be honest. But hopefully maybe every time I come back I'm like, I'm gonna try, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be able to do it regularly, and then it doesn't happen. So maybe I should just stop saying that, because it may never happen. But I stream on occasion. And I cover archaeological news. Pretty much just kind of go over articles that I find interesting. Let's see, where is... Gotta get the thing up and running. What is that? Is it this? Oh my gosh. What's this? Okay. This is what I want. No, not that one. What is that? Okay, now I'm having issues with this. Ah, there we go. Okay. Nobody cares to see me that much. And boom, there we go. Yeah, got it going. Okay. Okay. Everybody, I think you can see and hear me, and everything should be set and ready to go wonderfully. That. Oh, I still got my little interesting. I don't know how to. Maybe I should move myself over to the other side. Boom. There we go. That way, because I've got that, I don't remember how I did it, but I put that little symbol. I should probably get rid of it. And redo a new symbol. Anyways, shift myself over so that I'm not covered by that. And let's go ahead and get started, shall we? A genomic study identifies human animal hair in man-eater lion's teeth. In 1898, 2 male lions terrorized an encampment of bridge builders on the Sogo River in Kenya. The lions, which were massive and maneless, crept into the camp at night, raided the tents, and dragged off their victims. That's scary, man. The infamous Savo man-eaters killed at least 28 people before Lieutenant Colonel John Henry Patterson, the civil engineer on the project, shot them dead. Patterson sold the lions' remains to the Field Museum of Natural History in Chicago in 1925. That's a long time. How did they... But that's terrifying. Like, oh, everybody's just sleeping in the pool and a lion comes and gets you. Thankfully, we have some good solid doors and you don't have to worry about a mountain lion coming in and taking you away. It's terrifying. At least where I live. I don't have to. I'm sure there's places in the world that do have to worry about such things. In a new fields museum, researchers collaborated with scientists at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign on an in-depth analysis of hairs carefully extracted from the lion's living teeth. The study used microscopy and genomics to identify some of the species the lions consumed. Findings are reported in the journal Current Biology. The original discovery of the hairs occurred in the early 1990s. Then Thomas Nosk, a collection manager at the Field Museum, found the lion skulls in storage and examined them for signs of what they had consumed. He was the first to determine that they were fully grown older adult males, despite being nameless. He also was the first to notice that thousands of broken and compacted hairs had accumulated in exposed cavities in the lion's damaged teeth during their lifetime. 2001, Nosk and Julian Kurbis Peterhans, a professor at Roosevelt University and Field Museum adjunct curator, first reported on the damaged condition of the teeth, which they hypothesized may have contributed to the lion's predation of humans, in the presence of hairs embedded in broken and partially healed teeth. A preliminary analysis of some of the hairs suggested that they were from eland, impala, oryx, porcupine, warthog, and zebra. In the new study, Nosk and Peterhans facilitated a new examination of some of the hairs. Co-authors Ogeto Mwebi, a senior researcher, a scientist at the National Museum of Kenya, and Nduhiro Gitahi, a researcher at the University of Nairobi, conducted the microscopic analysis of the hairs. U of I postdoctoral researcher Alida de Flaming led a genomic investigation of the hairs with U of I anthropology professor Ripon S. Malhi. They focused on a separate sample of 4 individual hairs and 3 clumps of hairs extracted from the lion's teeth. They're developing new techniques to learn about the past by sequencing and analyzing ancient DNA preserved in biological artifacts. Their work in partnership with indigenous communities has yielded numerous insights into human migration in the pre- and post-colonial history of the Americas. That's cool. Yep, they were eating porcupines. Next. Underwater caves provide new insights into Sicily's earliest human inhabitants. Recent archaeological studies in Sicily reveal crucial information about early human migration into the Mediterranean islands. New findings from coastal and underwater caves in southern Sicily suggest a deeper understanding of Homo sapiens' movements and survival strategies during their initial colonization of the island. The research offers fresh perspectives on the expansion routes and adaptive behaviors of early human communities. Go away. Archaeological surveys conducted by a team from Washington University in St. Louis have rediscovered and assessed 25 caves and rock shelters in southern Sicily. These locations, many initially identified between 1870 and the 1990s, were largely forgotten over time. The recent study published in PLOS ONE reports the evolution of these caves, along with the new land and underwater explorations that led to the discovery of 3 additional sites. These sites are believed to contain sediments with significant archaeological potential. Ilaria Patania, an assistant professor of archaeology, emphasized that this research aims not just to identify the first individual settlers, but to understand the formation of early communities on Sicily. Understanding the timing of the initial colonization of Sicily provides key data for the pattern and mode of the early expansion of Homo sapiens into the Mediterranean. Despite Sicily's proximity to mainland Italy, the migration of early human groups to the island posed significant challenges. The narrow stretch of water separating Sicily from Italy might seem a minor barrier today, but it represented a substantial obstacle for early human populations. Scholars have debated whether early humans arrived by sea or over a possible land bridge, and what pathways they may have taken to reach the island. That was my next question. How has the coast changed since then? While much prior research focused on potential entry points along Sicily's northern coast, This recent study shifts attention to the southern coast. Tia Kidder, co-author of the study, noted that new approaches and perspectives are crucial to revealing previously unseen patterns. Finding underwater sites opens up a whole new terrain to study. It allows us to reconsider routes of migration of these earliest human ancestors. The established date for human presence in Sicily stands at approximately 16,000 years ago, which is notably later than the known human expansion into Siberia, some 30,000 years earlier. This discrepancy raises questions about whether humans may have reached Sicily earlier than currently accepted. So these are stone tools and other items of interest from underwater caves and other coastal sites in southern Sicily. And so it looks like flakes, although this looks touched up right here, and this one as well. And have a flake taken off here. Cool. Some interesting material. Definitely seems a little different than what I find in my neck of the woods. Catania's long-term research project aims to uncover new insights into the early human occupation of southeast Sicily. So far, the team has identified and evaluated over 40 sites of interest, many of which have been precisely relocated based on historical records. This initiative has relied heavily on archival research, including the review of local records dating back to the 19th century, and collaborations with local archaeologists, divers, and fishermen. One notable collaboration included a retired tugboat captain who, despite lacking formal archaeological training, provided valuable guidance based on his extensive knowledge of the local waters. By partnering with local experts and stakeholders, Catania and her team have gained unique access and insights that are vital to their ongoing exploration. So, yeah, they're just going to keep looking. That's cool. I wonder how they plan to address the excavations. It'd be so cool to go and scuba dive. I really should. Next. Tracing humanity's complex ancestry, evidence of interbreeding and survival. At the core of understanding human evolution lies the question of human nature. Were early Homo sapiens inherently peaceful or aggressive? Did they dominate through conquest, or did they survive through cooperation? I think early humans were probably pretty similar to what we are now, and probably utilized both. Recent fossil and genetic discoveries increasingly suggest that ancient humans were more collaborative than combative. These findings provide an intricate look at how our ancestors interacted with other hominins, revealing a pattern for interbreeding rather than conflict. This emerging narrative portrays Homo sapiens as survivors navigating a challenging landscape. For much of early history, human existence was precarious. Homo sapiens lived among a multitude of other hominin species. Neanderthals inhabited Europe and the Middle East, Denisovans roamed across Asia, and smaller species such as Homo floresiensis and Homo luzonensis occupied Indonesia and Philippines. Even Homo erectus persisted until about 112,000 years ago. Despite this diversity, only Homo sapiens remain today, with traces of these extinct relatives still present in modern human DNA. This is the Alcidron Tunnel of Bones, where 12 Neanderthal specimens dating around 49,000 years ago have been recovered. That's cool. I'd love to go check that out. Really? That's... Keep reading with some... Aww. You suck. Darn you. I'm sorry, guys. That's new. Usually I'm able to get through the whole thing. Early human species benefited from food diversity and steep mountainous terrain. A new study published in the journal Science Advances by researchers at the IBS Center for Climate Physics at Pusan National University in South Korea shows that the patchwork of different ecosystems found in mountainous regions played a key role in the evolution of humans. A notable feature of the archaeological sites of early humans, members of the genus Homo, known as hominins, is that they are often found in near mountain regions. Using an extensive data set of hominin fossils and artifacts, along with high-resolution landscapes, and a 3 million year long simulation of Earth's climate, the team of scientists from ICCP have provided a clearer picture of how and why early humans adapted to such rugged landscapes. In other words, they have helped explain why so many of our evolutionary relatives preferred being steeplanders as opposed to flatlanders. I don't know, I like mountains more. It's just pretty. Mountainous regions have enhanced biodiversity because the changes in elevation result in shifts of the climate, providing a range of environmental conditions under which different plants and animal species can thrive. The authors showed that steep regions usually exhibit a larger variety and density of ecosystems and vegetation types, known as biomes. Such biome diversity was a draw for early humans as it provided increased food resources and resilience to climate change. When we analyzed the environmental factors that controlled where human species lived, we were surprised to see that terrain steepness was standing out as the dominant one, even more than local climate factors, such as temperature and precipitation. On the other hand, steep regions are more difficult to navigate than flatter terrain and require more energy to traverse. Hominins needed to gradually adapt to the challenges of tough, rougher terrain in order to take advantage of the increased resources. The ICCP researchers examined how, over time, human adaptations changed the cost-benefit balance of living in rugged environments. That's really interesting, to kind of take all of the data that, hey, Drisky, how's it going? But to take all of the data of known sites and kind of just calculate where the type of terrain that they're in, that's really interesting, and I like that. So if they were more prone to stay in the more mountainous region, when did that continue, or is it just like earlier hominin thing? Did that continue with like Neanderthal and early Homo sapiens, and only to change when Homo sapiens began to fawn? Or did that occur earlier? The adaptation towards steeper environments is visible for the earliest human species, Homo habilis, Homo ergaster, and Homo erectus, until about 1 million years ago, after which the topographic signal disappears for about 300,000 years. It reemerges again around 700,000 years ago with the advent of better adapted and more culturally advanced species such as Homo heidelbergensis and Homo neanderthalensis. These groups, which were able to control fire, also exhibited a much higher tolerance for colder and wetter climates. The decrease in topographic adaptation around 1 million years ago roughly coincides with large-scale reorganizations in our climate system. Known as the mid-Pleistocene transition, it also lines up with the evolutionary events such as a recent discovery, ancestral genetic bottleneck, which drastically reduced human diversity, and the timing of the chromosome 2 merger in hominins. Whether this is all a coincidence or whether the intensifying glacial climate shifts contributed to the genetic transitions in early humans remains an open question. How humans have evolved over the past 3 million years and adapted to emerging environmental challenges is a hotly debated research topic. The results of the South Korean research team provide a new piece in the puzzle of human evolution. Averaged over hundreds of thousands of years across different species and continents, the data clearly shows that our ancestors were steeplanders. Our results clearly show that over time, hominins adapted to steep terrain, and that this trend was likely driven by the regionally increased biodiversity. Our analysis suggests that it was beneficial for early human groups to populate mountainous regions, despite the increased energy consumption needed to scale these environments. But it talked about the bottleneck, the decrease in topographic adaptation around 1 million years ago roughly coincides with large-scale reorganizations in our climate system, known as the mid-Pleistocene transition. It also lines up with evolutionary events such as a recent discovery, recently discovered ancestral genetic bottleneck. So the climate started to shift. They had to come out of the mountains, likely, and it made it more difficult, and likely the genetic bottleneck happened. Interesting. I might go and read there. Oh, is it in Korean? I hope it's not. It's Science Advances. Let's see. Nope, it's not. Cool. Where is it started? Yeah, I'm going to want to read this later. This is interesting. Next. The role. Well, look at that. Haha. Go away, anthropology net. Genetic evidence reveals ancient migration to Japan. A groundbreaking genetic study led by Jong-Hyun Kim and Jun Ohashi at the University of Tokyo has unveiled new insights into the immigration patterns that shaped Japan's population during the Yayoi period. Researchers have provided evidence linking the majority of ancient immigrants to the Japanese archipelago directly to the Korean peninsula. The finding offers clarity on how Japan's dual genetic ancestry emerged, enriching the current understanding of ancient East Asian migration. Human remains from the Yayoi period, approximately 2,300 years ago, from which DNA was extracted. I don't know why, but that looks peaceful. The study was published in the Journal of Human Genetics and offers a refined perspective on the genetic diversity and ancestral composition of modern Japanese populations, which have long been thought to derive from two primary sources, the indigenous Jomon people and the continental Asian migrants. Go away. Historically, Japan was largely isolated during the Jomon period. However, the introduction of agriculture and onset of the Yayoi period marked significant demographic shifts. Increased contact with continental Asia, particularly the Korean peninsula, led to waves of immigration that fundamentally transformed the region's demographic composition. Principal investigator Jun Ohashi, East Asian-related and Northeast Asian-related ancestries account for over 80% of nuclear genomes of the modern Japanese population. Despite this, details regarding the origins of timing of these ancestral migrations have remained elusive until now. The study assessed two competing models explaining Japan's genetic composition. The two-way and three-way admixture models. The two-way model suggests a singular source of migration during both the Yayoi and Kofun periods, while the three-way model proposes two distinct sources. To resolve this, the researchers analyzed the genome of a Yayoi period individual from the Daigahama site in Yamaguchi Prefecture. The genetic data showed that the Yayoi individual genome was closely related to both ancient and modern Korean populations. The comparison also revealed significant genetic overlap with Kofun period individuals who displayed distinct genetic components: Jomon-related, East Asian-related, and Northeast Asian-related ancestries. However, when compared with modern genomes, the Yayoi individuals' genetic markers were most similar to the modern Korean populations. So you got from Korea, Jomon, and then mixing for modern Japanese. That's cool. Northeast Asian populations. East Asian. Alright. Evolution of starch digestion in early humans. The ability to digest starch has played a crucial role in human evolution. When starch enters the mouth, amylase, an enzyme in saliva, begins to break it down. Two recent studies in Nature and Science have revealed the evolutionary importance of amylase in our ancestors and how they adapted to changing diets. Researchers discovered that early humans experienced two significant waves of amylase gene expansion, the first potentially linked to the mastery of fire, and the second with the onset of agriculture approximately 12,000 years ago. Omer Gokuman, a geneticist at the University of Buffalo, highlights the significance of these findings. This combination of adapting to diverse environments and modifying our diets is a core tenet of what makes us human. His team's work, published in Science, emphasizes the genetic adaptability that allowed early humans to thrive as diets evolved. This evolutionary flexibility may also provide insights into modern diseases like diabetes, where starch-heavy diets can cause complications for those with fewer amylase genes. Peter Sudment, a geneticist from UC Berkeley, led the second study, published in Nature, and discussed the progression of amylase genes over time. DNA sequencing revealed variability in gene copies among individuals, with some possessing only one copy and others having up to 11. In comparison, apes like chimpanzees have just a single amylase gene, showing a stark genetic difference. But that's a huge difference, just one and some 11. Gokuman's team traced amylase gene evolution using ancient DNA from 45,000-year-old hunter-gatherers and Neanderthals. Findings suggested that early humans had around 5 copies of the gene, which might have emerged after learning to control fire over 600,000 years ago. This adaptation may have helped break down tough fibers in starchy plants, improving nutrition. It's night and day with cooking. What an odd, quote, it's so short. The heat from fire made starchy foods more digestible, and extra amylase genes likely offered a survival advantage. The second wave of amylase gene duplication occurred around 12,000 years ago with the agricultural evolution. As society shifted to farming, diets changed to include more starch-rich crops like wheat, barley, and potatoes. Studies show a significant increase in the prevalence of extra amylase genes in the DNA of people from this period, suggesting a strong impulse of natural selection favoring individuals with more copies. Dr. Sudman's team found evidence of similar evolutionary patterns in other regions beyond Europe and Western Asia. In Peru, for instance, potato domestication over 5,000 years ago aligned with the rise in amylase gene copies, Sudman acknowledged. The idea that amylase has experienced intense natural selection in certain regions of the world may sound like a remarkable and kind of crazy claim, but maybe it's not so crazy. Despite understanding the genetic patterns, some questions remain. Today, the presence of multiple amylase genes does not appear to significantly affect health or reproduction. This raises the question, what advantage did extra amylase gene provide to our ancestors? Gokuman suggests that amylase may act as a signaling enzyme, preparing the body to absorb sugar from starch efficiently. In times of scarcity, this signaling could have been crucial for survival, helping people maximize nutrition from limited food supplies. If you're just barely surviving, then I think it will be a matter of life and death. Anthropological, which barely surviving was like the majority of human history. Anthropological genetics, George Perry of Penn State University, not involved in these studies, cautions that migration and population replacement could also explain the spread of amylase genes. As groups migrated and intermingled, they may have introduced extra gene copies, influencing the genetic makeup of populations. While Gokuman and Sudman's work offers compelling evidence, Perry advises that further studies are necessary to confirm these conclusions. Nonetheless, these findings add a significant chapter to the understanding of how early humans adapted to dietary shifts and environmental changes, showcasing the intricate relationship between evolution and genetics in survival. very cool. Hopefully we get some more testing and research into that. Well, you guys, I am going to go ahead and call it for the night. Pretty short stream, just going to try and get into the groove of it. Hopefully I actually do this time instead of saying yes and then waiting a couple months ago. As always, the Discord, I'll link the articles I have gone through, so you can go through them, read them yourself if you want, look more into it, follow the researchers. I'm on Twitter, Bones of Amber, or Amber Bones. I think I had to do it that way. But yeah, go ahead and follow me. There's a lot of really awesome archaeologists that I follow on Twitter. A lot of great research going on, and they're pretty active on, well, I guess it's not Twitter anymore, I guess it's X, but yeah. It just sounds weird. I like Twitter. Anyways, you guys have a wonderful evening, and take care.